Welcome back to the long-awaited, hotly anticipated Part 5 and highly unexpected part to this Ultimate Knizia tier list ranking video. We are gathering together more than a year after the recording of the first 4 parts where we ranked 161 Knizia board games. And Scott, why are we gathering again? What's the point of extending this even further?
Because we got to keep him guessing. We got to keep him guessing all through the round. Well, it's because Reiner Knizia is a maniac who simply does not stop. And we've played a lot more games of his since then. And see, rankings, they're always relative. And so when you play something new, it's always going to move things around. And we just got to refresh, you know? We gotta look at it again. Fresh eyes, fresh Knizia eyes, and see how things are.
That's right. We're going to revisit the games that we ranked after a year of sitting on these rankings, but we've also added 2 very special things to our list. One of them being 70 more Knizia games, and the other being Jared. Jared is a member or one of the co-administrators of the Reiner Knizia Enthusiast Discord server with Scott and I, which is welcome to all. We will include a link to that Discord server in the description of this video. But Jared, welcome. Why don't you introduce yourself?
Hello, thank you for having me. Yeah, so Jared, I've been a Knizia enthusiast for many years now, and I'm out there just trying to spread the good word. And thank you for inviting me onto this because, you know, all love and respect to my fellow moderators, but I did have some disagreements, some grievances that I would like to share.
Nonsense. Our list is bulletproof.
It's impossible. Yeah, it's infallible. That's why we're not adjusting it a year later at all either. So.
Not only has Jared played, do you know how many Knizia games you've played now, Jared, roughly?
I'm coming up on 150, personally.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, that's pretty close to what I've done. And but you're the only 3 of us who has personally met with Reiner and shaken hands and gazed into his eyes. Okay, I don't need to make
this. Pupils are hexagons.
Hexagon pupils.
Yes. Yeah, indeed. I was fortunate enough to get a chance to talk to him at last year's Essen, and yeah, certainly one of the highlights of my life.
Yeah, he's really fun to talk to. Really good guy and very productive human, as we know. That's why we're here doing these videos. So, yeah, welcome, Jared. And we figured as part of initiation for this Part 5 video, since you missed out on the first 4 parts, we're gonna throw you in the deep end and get your controversial take on our tier list, which I do have pulled up right here. Okay.
Just bully you.
Fully right recreated by hand because I'm the captain now.
Overall, I thought it was solid. Nothing too dramatic, but we all have our preferences. And as Scott was saying at the top, you know, after trying some of the back catalog and some of his new things and seeing how he's iterated and changed and gone back to some of the similar mechanisms, it's, you know, you can't cross the same river twice.
And get points with the same caravan. So, like, you know, like if you have all 5 of your caravans crossing the river, you're getting 5 points every time. Like that's the ideal right there.
All right, so I narrowed it down to top 3 underrated and top 3 overrated, in my opinion. So I'll start with the spicy takes and go with overrated. So I do not think that Equinox / Colossal Arena belongs in A tier. I think it is okay at best. I think it takes a little too long and you don't have as much control as I would like to see. So I don't think it delivers quite on the promises of placing those bets at the beginning.
I was thinking about this in light of everything else, and I think I'd agree. I think I would be okay with putting it down to B. I've had some incredible games of this. I think in the last one I talked about taking Colossal Arena down with me to Guatemala on a dental relief trip and just watching like 5 dudes play it back to back over and over again at the end of like a long night, and it was incredible for that, and the way that like it grew and people's understanding and estimation of different things. But it's also something that like if you have other games to play, it doesn't immediately like strike out. It doesn't immediately grab you in ways that I think like most of the other games in A tier would be. Like it's a bit of a grower, and I think for me, I'm like, oh, for me, I think it's still an A, but like I'm okay with dropping it down to B because it is something that like you kind of gotta like have the right situation for it to really, really work.
So this hurts my feelings. um, No, I think from all the betting games I've played, Equinox is one of my favorites. I haven't tried Colossal Arena, so Equinox is my point of reference.
All right, and now we go for the jugular with Municipium.
Oh, Municipium?
So I like this game. I think
this isn't
it is
the jugular, Jared. I'm sorry.
good.
You gotta, like, this is not you going for the jugular. This is like, maybe the corroded.
All right, fair enough.
Probably is as dangerous, but like, go ahead.
So I think this is a really good game and interesting and a lot to say, but as is, I do not agree with it being an S tier. I'll say that there's definitely something there, and I haven't gotten a chance to play Silos yet, but original Municipium was not among the best of the best, in my opinion.
Well, see, like when we talked about it last time, I think Municipium was partially an aspirational S because I love the design. I love the design, the decisions that you're making, but everything around it was just not ideal. And so this one, I'm like, I'm more than okay to drop down Municipium because we're going to come back later, and something's going to replace it in S tier easily. I mean, it is lovely. Like, look at the board. Like, that is genuinely lovely. Like,
yes.
The board itself is at least like honestly pretty. Gotta warn you.
I fully agree that it is a hidden gem, and I give you, Scott, a lot of credit for being, an evangelist, but just because it's underrated doesn't mean it's S tier, in my opinion.
I think that's perfect. I still think it's an A design, at least. I still think it's a really brilliant game. And if I'd never gotten
a game to be seen later on in the list,
I would still be very happy to have Municipium in my collection. All right, now you're going for the jugular.
All right. So, biases up front. My favorite game of all time is Tigris and Euphrates. I play it over and over again. I have a permanent eternal game going on, board game arena at all times. I play it on the table. I love it. And Yellow and Yangtze does not deserve to be on the same tier as Tigris and Euphrates.
Be gone!
It is so hard to separate the two of them because they are so closely linked. And I know on your personal list, Nick, you kind of put them in one category. But for me, the things... I like some of the things that it changed for the positive, but some of the other things I found a strict downgrade for me and my preferences. I think the main ones are the way that wars resolve, where you only get red points, and the way the kingdoms fall apart. And for me, one of my absolute favorite things in Tigris and Euphrates is the way that you get to decide the order of battle, which you can then use to your advantage to reshape the kingdom for subsequent battles. One of my absolute favorite things to do in board games as a whole is attacking the Black King of another kingdom and then chopping them off, which leaves their 4 green tiles behind and outside of their kingdom. So now I can swoop in and take those. And without that rough edge, I found Yellow and Yangtze a shadow of its predecessor. My other biggest complaint is the way that they handled treasure, the wild points, the yellow gold, making them more accessible and less a limited resource, and the way that they shaped the board. I did not appreciate the arc of the game as much. So this is all to say, I like the game. I think it's good. I do not think it is gold tier.
I'm completely directly 100% 1000 opposed because I think Yellow and Yangtze is absolutely brilliant. It is not the same game as Tigris and Euphrates, and I think like the comparisons are like they're valid, like 100%. But like the reasons for connecting to city states are completely different than you would get in Tigris and Euphrates. Because the reason you connect like cities in Tigris and Euphrates is so that you can get points. And the reason that you connect them in Yellow and Yangtze is also so you can get points, but it's a longer payoff because like the main reason to connect cities is to be able to reposition leaders or to be able to kick people out of certain positions. And it's something that's just simply, oh, hey, I did the picture. It's just more, it's a more subtle and strategic like iteration of the design, whereas Tigris and Euphrates is much more brutal and tactical. Like Tigris and Euphrates is like you're building up like these things, but you're also thinking, oh, I have this hand of tiles. What am I going to do with it this turn? And Yellow and Yangtze is like they've got the Yellow Pagoda. That's something that I can't let them keep having because it's giving them a free point every turn. How am I going to grab that with the tiles that I have, which is also tactical, but then thinking about like this person over here has been like sitting on 2 blue pagodas for a while. How are we going to break that up? And I don't know. I think it's like an absolutely brilliant game that like a lot of people say it's Tigris and Euphrates with the edges sawed off, but I like to think of it more as Tigris and Euphrates is like a serrated buck knife that you just and then Yellow and Yangtze is like a smooth knife where they're both cutting, but Yellow and Yangtze is much if it was like, if it was Japan instead of China, I'd say it was like a katana, but you can't say that because it's China, not Japan. But like a smooth Chinese blade rather than a jagged, like stone sword, Like they're both cutting, they're both accomplishing things in very similar ways, but like there's a really different feel with them. And I think Yellow and Yangtze is the one that I'd keep if I had to get rid of one, except I don't have a copy of Tigris and Euphrates, so I can't make that choice. But I love Tigris. Like I think whenever I play one, it makes me want to play the other. And then I play the other and it makes me want to play the other. And it's just this beautiful loop that one informs my understanding of the other over and over again. And that never changes. No! The bottom. I don't like being out of control.
All right, so for underrated, my first pick is Hit/No Mercy. I think Hit is terrific. I think it's really funny. I think the way it brings out your hubris and the table talk in just one more card. What's the worst that could happen? And then as the stacks of piles are popping all around and just that decision that comes in with trying to the known quantities and seeing how many are out there and trying to factor the odds, and then it packs so much drama into a 10-minute card game that I think it is terrific. Upper B, let's go. My game group, we just played 3 games of this back to back a few weeks ago, and we were crying tears of laughter. One friend in particular ended the first 2 games with 0 points because he busted every time. But he just kept going, and so the way that the meta shifted around Tyler and his folly, it made for such a memorable experience. And I've also heard tell of Hit Extreme, which I believe I know has hit in the streets
hit
in some regions. So I'm eager to try that. Because if it's a comparable upgrade from Llama to Llama Party, I would be ecstatic.
That's a pretty high bar right there.
Yeah. All right, next one is Tower of Babel. I love Tower of Babel. It is A tier for me personally. It is, and it's one of the it's one of the hidden gems in his back catalog that I continually advocate for. The big thing is the way that you can trade materials and you get points for denying them. And I do think that's a really stellar way to look at it. But the aspect of it that I find most fascinating is the timing of the area control. So in something like El Grande, it's just all regions score during the scoring rounds every time. And so you can know that, you can plan for it. But in Tower of Babel, the timing is in the hands of the players. Don't show the action cards, Nick. No, those are verboten.
Show the junk, not the junk, you know.
Anyways, the scoring, they are triggered when all 3 of the tokens in a region are scored, and then they get more and more valuable later it goes on. So it gives you the opportunity. So if you see Scott is really dominating this one region and no one's going to be able to pass him, well, then let's just finish it off so he scores the fewest amount of points, and then the places where you are more strong, you want to go later on, but then you can't wait too long because at the very end of the game, anything just drops back to the second category. So I think the trading is really interesting, the collaboration, the set collection of those tokens, but it's the timing of the scoring that I think really stands out for this game.
I think for me, like, I'd be okay with putting it up a little bit because I do think that there's a lot of really interesting incentives when it comes to like a lot of interesting shared incentives, just like Jared was talking about. Like, when do we finish this? Who's working on this? Who's getting the bonus tokens? Who's like actually getting their billings down? What cards do I have? How can I offer things? And like, there's a lot of like really cool bits there. I would love to see a better looking version of this. And there will be people who are like, Franz Vohwinkel made this. It's beautiful. And I'm like, okay, I mean, people can have duds. Like, you know, everybody has F tiers. And I think it's just like, there's just so much of it that just feels so weird and wonky. I'm really glad that I got like the pro tip not to use the action cards when playing it, because that would have made it more weird and wonky. But I think at its core, it's a really interesting game, really interesting design, that I just think is really ugly.
Okay, so are we okay with Tower of Babel jumping up to B tier from C tier?
B for Babel, baby.
B for Babel. I think if this got a new version, it would have a lot of potential. I think Reiner, though, probably wants to see the other version of this game reprinted more than Tower of Babel, though, because Tower of Babel has had a lot of changes from the publisher, and Reiner tends to favor his version. So it may only ever exist as this beautiful Radiance copy. So
You need like
take it or leave it.
The Tower of Colossus.
Lovely, one of those lovely fan redesigns. Like, there's a couple people on BGG that just do incredible work, and I'd love to see a take on this, because I think you could do a lot of cool stuff.
And I feel like we keep ending up in these like monkey paw situations where everyone's clamoring for a Rongo.
A Rongo, please, and the finger curled.
But that's later.
We'll get there.
Yeah. All right.
One more, right?
My number 1 most underrated was Rhinelander. So again, this goes to my biases. Rhinelander, it's in the same Acquire, Tigers Euphrates, Stevenson's Rocket, Rhinelander lineage with the connecting of the networks, and they go through. And I love Rhinelander, and I think one of the big things that sets it apart is that it is one of the very few of his tile layers that go up to 5. And it is also quicker than some of the other ones. So for me, like, if I have 4 people, I want to do Tigers and Euphrates. But if I have 5 people, and that's not an option, Rhinelander is, I think, an excellent game. The way that you're trying to balance your dukes and spreading the kingdoms. The cards, they give you those options with the numbers along the river, yet there's still opportunities to use those to reinforce with some limits. So there's still a lot of flexibility despite the random nature. And I do think the fact that I believe there's been 2 editions of this, neither of them are particularly attractive. I do really like the cover of the, Rhinelander Knight, but unfortunately the rest of the components don't live up to the promise implied
I
there.
think, yeah, I think I agree with you. Rhinelander is a really cool design for 5 players. And I think it's a good design for 4 players. And then without any sort of scaling, I think it falls off really quickly. Like, I would love to see a new version of this game with some sort of scaling. Like, I tried a 3-player game a while back with just the spaces like 1 to 33, or maybe it was like 11 to 44 to like grab like some interesting parts of the river. And that was like, I think it worked just fine. Like we were butting into each other as much as you would in a 5-player game, or at least like a 4-player game. Um, I think without any sort of like scaling, though, it does kind of just stay a 5-player game, and that's something that makes it like a little inflexible. But it's also like surprisingly easy to pick up and teach and like roll out. Like you can get a game of it knocked out in 45 minutes with brand new players, and the flow of it is honestly really enjoyable. I think Rhinelander's great. Eh, the box was so big. The box was so big. It smelled like vinegar. I
Yeah,
don't know. It was just
mine
really
too.
weird.
Yeah, I actually did an analysis on this game, and because we were thinking about bringing it back like we did for Zuvadis and other titles, and it ended up that the rights aren't available. So I assume there will be a new version coming out eventually. But my
The
takeaway
monkey's
from this
paw. The
was,
monkey's
yeah,
paw.
yeah, it's coming. Yeah, hopefully it's fantastic, right? But my takeaway was like this one's weirdly sits in the middle between like the scoring's a little too weird to be a gateway, family weight game, and then people, from looking at people's ratings and comments and stuff, like they wish they had a little bit more control in order to, get a more satisfying play out of it. So it's like in that awkward zone between a gamer's game and a non-gamer's game. And then one other comment that somebody I read somewhere stood out to me is like the game gets really interesting towards the end, but then it just ends too quickly, like before. And maybe that's out of necessity because it would break or it wouldn't work anymore. But like the most interesting stuff happens during like the last 10% of the game, And I think there's some truth to that. So I don't know. My hope is like, yeah, a new version comes out with some interesting new additions from Reiner, some tweaks that really bring out its full potential. But let's see. Jared insists that a high C tier isn't good enough. C is. Let me remind you, this is
She's
reliable
good.
Reiner. So I don't know. What do you think, Scott?
I, 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 no, I think I'd be okay with it. I think I'm okay with just hopping the line. Just like
Jump the line.
imagining
Too
that
kind.
currently the Rhinelander Duchy is on one side of the river, and then there's the B tier on the other side, and then it just gets the little knight right in the middle, and it connects the two just across to the B tier, and I think that makes perfect sense.
Or we'd be like the Green Goblin and make Jared decide which one goes first. This is very important.
As long as we can all agree, it's a top 5 Reiner Knizia river-based game.
Oh, oh, how many river-based games are there? I can already think of 4 of them.
There's Yangtze.
So yeah, of course, the first
It's
one we
better
all
than
thought of.
Yangtze.
Yeah, it's way better than Yangtze. I'll give you that. Okay, no, that sounds good. We'll do that and move on. So I don't know if you have a preference, Tower of Babel first or Rhinelander first.
I prefer Rhinelander between the two.
Yeah, that's what I was going to
Yeah.
say. Cool. All right. So moving on, we are now going to talk about our other re-rankings. Okay, which I have a list, and I don't know if you guys do as well. But let's try and zoom through these as much as possible to get
Oh
to the
yeah.
new stuff.
Oh
So.
yeah.
First one on my list is Amon-Ra 20th Anniversary Edition, which, as you can see, doesn't have the best rating. And it's because my last play of this was like 3 hours long. It was unbearable. It was so bad. So it's like this to me is like a 1 hour game as far as the quality of decisions and the satisfaction that it brings in like a 2 hour body, which can sometimes end up being 3 hours. Which, granted, that did include the teach, but it's like.
That's
This is probably the most cumbersome Knizia game I've ever taught and played with newcomers, and like it kind of sucks the fun out of it. when we're playing that slow. So
I think Almond Ray still has a lot of really interesting things about it. I want to try it again with like all the market stuff happening simultaneously, because a lot of times like that doesn't have to be in player order, and it's really hard to just be like, okay, it's your turn now. Okay, now you have to do the second part. Okay, now you have to do the third part. I think
yeah,
that
it's the
really drags it
procedural
down.
part. Yep.
Yeah, and it's like I think I agree with you. Like it's a 60-minute game and a 120-minute body. I think I'd still keep it in B tier,
Yeah. Just drop it.
but I think it is really like on the edge. I got rid of my copy just
Yeah.
because like it just didn't. Oh, it wasn't working. It wasn't
I have not
working.
played the new edition, only the original Amun Ray. Or actually, the three editions I played the Rio Grande, and I really like the central auction. The way that works is as far as jumping around, but yeah, the rest of it doesn't quite tie together. And I think that's a good point where it's one of his most complex games, and it didn't juice wasn't quite worth the squeeze in my experience as well.
Yeah. Well, low B tier is still really solid, and I know a lot of people love this game, and
Oh
it's for some
yeah.
people it's their favorite Knizia, so we'll leave it at
It's
that.
something like I think one good play of this, like if I ever got a good play of this in an hour, it would just go just
Yeah.
like right back up there.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
Yeah, it's got a lot of interesting stuff. So, okay, this is kind of suffering the same fate as Municipium in my mind, where it's not quite as important and meaningful to play unless you're one of those Beowulf themed diehards who just can't detach yourself from the legend himself.
And
But
that's fine. Beowulf is a really cool theme.
yeah,
It's a really cool
yeah.
poem. Um,
Yeah, and that's perfectly fine. I just feel like from a gameplay standpoint, this one is much, much longer than what is about to replace it, which we'll get to. And it's more repetitive as a result. It has like way more events. So you get like 2/3 through the game and you're like, okay, I get it. You know, like, yeah, it doesn't really introduce new things throughout the game or new feelings. So that was one thing that when we worked on a new version of this game, we kind of focused on trimming it down and focusing on what's best about it. So, in my opinion, it should drop down a whole tier. So, we had it in A tier, I believe. Yeah.
I think
So,
I'd be okay with that as well. I think that there are still people out there for whom Beowulf will be like the better, like the game that they like more, as
yeah.
opposed to later. And like I totally respect that. I think there's some cool and interesting things that Beowulf does with its like structure and like the game itself. I think are really cool. But like it's I'm with you. I'm with you.
That is Beowulf. Next one, I actually have Cascadito on here, and this is like Beowulf and Municipium. There's another game that's coming up on the list that I think just bumps down all other games in this genre, including the one that I published. So,
Oh.
yeah, it's just like, why play this? You know, if you're unless you're really into this genre, right? But if you want to play the best in this genre, I had both roll and rights that we had highest here, which is somewhere Cascadito. Yeah, this one I would drop down, and my city I would drop down just because there's another roll and write game from Kinesia that I would refer everybody to play because it actually does interesting new things in the genre. Whereas these ones are like they're solid roll and writes, but they're not necessarily innovative. Maybe would be my take. I don't know if you guys have disagree with that.
I really liked Roll and Build for my city, and I also liked how Cascadito used the same core system throughout the different boards, like the all the different variants. So I think there's that was really interesting seeing the system develop across most of it. But I'm not the biggest Roll and Write fan in general, so I'm not
Yeah.
opposed.
Yeah, I think for if you are a big roll and write fan, like the cool thing about these two games is they have a variety of maps and objectives where maybe the game isn't super interactive, but there's new challenges to explore. The reason I bump these down is because Reiner made a new roll and write that is much more interactive, and so that's going to be my personal go-to for my taste. So
I think that's
um,
fair.
cool. Next, we have Quest for El Dorado, the Golden Temples, which I guess technically we have two different boxes of this now. Do we want to get to this later then, or just talk about it right now?
I mean, let's just talk about it right now.
Let's do it.
I guess. Yeah, let's just talk about Golden Temples right now because, like, I haven't played it. I still don't have an opinion. I just want the box just for, like, the Palisade walls and, like, basically nothing else at this point. And I can't really justify that.
Yeah, so this new version, this is a Quest for El Dorado like standalone game, which I have played once. I played the original once or twice, and then I played this new one more recently that just released this year. And the two new things are these blockades you're talking about. They're one-way fences, so you can cross over at one direction, but you can't cross over at the other, so you have to go around. And then the other new thing is this module with these little coin tokens that either you put them on their easy side and put them way out of the way, and so if somebody's stops on that, they get a coin, or you put it on its hard side and put it more in the middle where you have to spend more cards to stop on it, but you also get a coin. So this one, I really enjoyed playing it, the new version standalone, especially with the blockades. Like there was a point where I was trying to cross around the blockades, and then somebody else was coming in the opposite direction where they could go anywhere they want. They could jump over the fence, but instead they stood right in the spot where I needed to pass through one of the bottlenecks. And
beautiful.
It was so brutal, but it made me appreciate this version more. So in my opinion, the original Golden Temples, yeah, that can stay high C tier. It's a solid, good game, but I think the new version, Quest for El Dorado, Vincent Dutrait's Golden Temples, where'd it go? Oh, did I put them next to each other? I don't remember. Oh no. It's just a mess of... Oh, here it is. There we go. This one I think deserves to go up a whole tier into B tier territory. So,
I mean, you say whole tier, but it is kind of just only like 2 games because you're putting it right at the end.
But that big river, as we've talked about, that's a big leap. You know?
I played the original version, and I did not like it as much as base Quest for El Dorado because the way the temples work, it lowered the emphasis on blocking since you could all be going in different directions. So that's my preference. Although I did just receive my entire Lot Buffalo order on Tuesday, this past Tuesday, and have since played Quest for El Dorado 3 times this week. And I also bought the new version of Golden Temples because I'm a silly, silly person. So I have not yet tried it with those new changes that Nick says, but now I'm more interested to it. I'd say for most people, though, be better served using the shrines from Dangerous in Musica, which capture some of the same feeling, but I like the way they were handled better.
I also think like there's some aspect of like the maps because like you don't actually have to make branching paths to like make the game. Like you don't have to have them all go in 3 different directions. You could have them be more like the checkpoints are, like with the Muisca shrines.
Yeah.
And so like I wonder if like part of it is I think the biggest thing that holds back Golden Temples for me and that hasn't made me want to search it out is the addition of the torches, because it just feels like it dilutes things in a way that like there's more multi-use cards, like there's more cards that have torches and something else, and so it mitigates it a bit. But there is, I don't know, it muddies it a bit in a way that I'd have to play for myself to really figure out whether I like it or not.
Cool. Moving on, Havilandi. So this is one that we predicted last year would be... Oh, where did we have it? We had it A tier? Where'd it go? Oh, we had it B tier. Okay. Yeah, we had a B tier. I think that's a pretty good place for it to be. This is one, well, I'm probably biased. I quite like this game, but it seems like it's not quite as popular with the masses as it is with me.
Where'd you get your copy again, Nick?
Oh, yes, Jared. He ventured across the ocean into the deep wilderness of Germany, shook Reiner's hand, and it made an exchange where Reiner pulled from his magical bag Havilandi and said, "Deliver this to Nick." Not quite. I mean, Jared was more proactive about just hooking me up with this, so thank you for that. And it was a lot of fun to play it early, and this is an interesting one where you roll a die and it moves your balloon so many spaces, and then you can put a tile within that line that lines up, or within that line that lines up, or you can kind of chain off of your own tiles within a region, and there's a little bit more flexibility there. There's different ways to score. So I can see how some people just don't like the restriction of put it wherever your balloon lines up and hope that it lines up in the best spots for you. But to me, it offers an interesting twist to tactical tile placement that I've enjoyed quite a bit. But I don't know what your take is, Jared.
I like it. I think B is reasonable. I like the double-sided boards. So if we can get a picture of the B side,
yeah,
which is a little bit more dramatic, but it's kind of in a weird place where it's in some ways it's much simpler than his other tile laying games, but then some of the rules are more fiddly than you'd think. So it's not quite
scoring. The scoring, like
Yeah.
the complexity of the scoring, is really what holds it back for me. Because it's something I'm like, I think this would be a great game to like play with my mom, but I just like think there would be things where she'd be like, "How does this work again?" I'm like, "Okay, let me check the rule book because I can't actually remember."
That's one of the big problems, right? The rule book, a lot of people have cited is like pretty poorly written.
It kind of communicated a core rule as an example, which I don't think is the best way to do that. But
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I think for me this is high C tier. I think it's dependable. I think it's enjoyable. But I wouldn't put it as a B.
That's fair. Yeah, I mean, it
But
was
B
pretty
for
close there.
balloon.
Yeah, come on.
C for crash and burn.
All right, touche. The next one, we're gonna go with Into the Blue. Oh yeah, the more I've played this, the more I've thought like there are so many better Knizia dice games. So I think we had this in B tier because I had a couple fun plays of it, but it's just not as reliably consistent as other. Oh,
No,
it's
you've
in
got
C
it in
tier.
C tier.
I've got it in C tier. Okay.
Looks like it's
Uh,
goodbye.
I disagree with you here, Nick. When I was reading through this before, I like Into the Blue much more than some of his other push your lights game. The area control I think is really neat, and the thing that I really appreciate about it is with dice game often like a 6 is better than a 1 in like all circumstances in many games, right? But for this one, since you need the series, you need the straight, suddenly like you can be in a situation where you're desperately rolling trying to get a 1, the nominally worst number. So I think the fact that you're trying to push your luck to reach all the way to the depths to grab those treasure, but balancing the area control, which also then informs the ties. I think that's really neat. So it makes it just a Rager's Edge. So I understand, not as enthusiastic, but sticking at C for Into the Deep Blue Sea there.
I have to agree with that because of the pun. I haven't played it, but you made a very compelling case.
Yeah, this one just hasn't had the legs for me. After repeat plays, it's like, okay, I feel like I'm enjoying this less and less with each play, where with Knizia's best dice games, like they either get better or they stay consistent, and so that's my main problem with it. But I agree, there's some interesting concepts going on within quite a simple game. So we'll leave it in C.
So yeah, the bottom of the Deep Blue Sea.
That's
come
right.
on.
That's right. All right, Don't Llama Dice. This is kind of similar to Into the Blue, but we had it quite high here. I think this is more a C tier game after playing it more. It just doesn't hold up as well. Especially, I think I played this at 6 players, and it was just way too much. Way too much.
I would not do that, but I really like Llama Dice. I think it's one of the funniest things that I played. It just, again, the llamas. It's entered in one of the inside jokes where people make the choice to like deliberately choose to take the llama card because it's more likely to roll a llama to get rid of it, and
Yeah.
we've called that the llama gambit has entered our lexicon.
Llama Gambit.
And I think it provides a lot of laughs, and I'm a big fan of Llama Dice.
Yeah, I mean, checking the dice and seeing what happens with anybody is fun to watch. I know, Scott, you're not as enthused about this compared to Llama Card Game, but I don't know. What do you think? Do you think it should be Low B or high C?
It's something that I feel like I really ought to play this again. I played it a couple times when I was kind of like trying to work through a lot of stuff, and so I
Your
might
llama
not have given it.
feelings.
I'm trying to work through all my llama. I've got llama feelings. Oh, I've got llama feelings. I've got to tamp them down. Um, but they will emerge volcanously. I don't. That's not the right version of that word. I think for me it would be a high C.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was leaning, just because it can be really good, but it can also be kind of like, you know. It depends on the play. Don't play with 6 players, and probably not 5 if you can avoid it.
But this does just show the benefit of having 3 hosts on this episode. So when I'm outvoted, move it along.
Lost Cities. I think we did this one dirty, Scott. You and I. It was maybe my fault. I don't know, but it's too low.
I think it was.
Look at that. That's way too low.
I think you're right.
This is one of the best 2-player games. Like, you could recommend to anybody.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, are we jumping 1 tier or 2 tiers here? That's the real question.
I think I'd put it in S.
Yeah.
I think it's there's something incredibly sturdy about the design that is just so easy to pick up and teach and play 5 times in a row. But there is, in that sturdiness, like, it doesn't quite have like the flash. It doesn't quite have the glimmer of gold, if you will. But it's like, it's as good a game. Like, it's just, it's perfect is what it is.
Sure. And like, if somebody came to you and they're like, what are the best 2-player board games for couples? Like, what's gonna be a hit for both,
Battle Line.
Members of the spectrum.
Lost Cities always hits. When Battle Line hits, it hits harder. I love Shot and Totten and Battle Line. Like, that's my pick of the 2. But like Lost Cities, like, there are people who don't like Battle Line, but like Lost Cities, it's just got like, it's the higher hit rate.
I'm cooler on Lost Cities, and I think a lot of it comes down to the scoring. I think it's a little anticlimactic. I think it works. I've been playing it more recently on BGA, where it's all automated, and so you can just click and see, but having to do it in person, you're like, all right, so negative, and this is minus 10, and trying to do that, it takes some of the impact away from me versus the immediacy of Battle Line's win conditions, which knocks it down in my estimation.
I think that is something that keeps it out of gold tier. I think generally you have like you have a gut feeling of how you did in a round, where it's like, that round was terrible for me, and then it takes a little bit to get the confirmation.
Yeah.
But playing it 3 times and the scoring thing, I do think that's better. And for me, Lost Cities, I think it's like, I respect it, but in that system, I would rather play like Keltis or some of the future iterations.
Oh no, Lost Cities is definitely the best. So, but we're bumping it up to S tier, baby.
S tier, baby. Take that, Jared.
Ooh, here we go, Mlem.
Oh no, that's like, get that up there. Get that up there. That's S tier. Like,
yeah, we predicted A tier, and I'm with you actually. This is like,
Mlem's incredible, honestly.
It's so good.
Oh god.
How high we going? This is hard.
Now, I just put it like, just throw it in the middle. Throw it in front of Milfiore.
Yeah, we'll put it right there. That's a good spot.
I like Mlem. I actually just played it yesterday and had a really great time. On the very first turn of the game, the captain made it all the way to space 24 with 2 dice left, only to crash and burn. So
hilarious.
It's like, it produces some of the biggest laughs that I've had, but I don't think it's S tier. But
well, I think you're wrong.
Is this just gonna be 2 to 1 this whole
Why
time?
are you even here, Jared?
The whole time, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I'm out of step.
Highline, come on.
Okay, so my take is, this is Reiner Knizia's best push your luck game he's ever made. I guess unless you include Ra in that, right? Ra's obviously better. But as far as just like push your luck dice chucking goes, there's nothing more socially just like interactive, and the banter that it draws. Like everybody jumps in the ship together. One person is the commander, and then you're trying to convince people like, oh, what cat are you going to contribute? Sometimes you're like, let's sabotage this person, and other times it's like, you got to help out. Come on, contribute. Give us your satellite. and then when people just bail out when you don't expect them to, or when the commander uses certain dice when you're expecting them to just go as far as they can, and instead they like sabotage the ship and jump off on the perfect spot they wanted to jump off on. Like there's so many interesting social interactions that come out of this game, and I've had a blast with it every time. It's one that somebody else in our large public meetup has purchased a copy of, and like other people, like completely unprompted by me, are playing this almost weekly in our large group meetup. And so to me, this one's a real winner. Even if, I don't know if I love the art direction necessarily. I think I would have preferred human astronauts at the end of the day. But
get out of here. You're
I
wrong.
mean, the
Bad
goldfish
take.
planet is fun,
Bad
and the
take.
yarn planet is fun. I do like those little Easter eggs.
I think the way that the modules are presented does it a little bit of a disservice. So I've experimented with base and then all of them, and I've narrowed it down to my preferred way to play is base with exploration tokens. Mm-hmm. And I think that for me and my group, that's where it's at its best. I didn't care for the UFO, and I thought the achievement ones diluted a little bit too much.
Yeah,
but having to try and navigate that was a little bit, because without the exploration tokens, it took me on my 4 games before anybody reached outer space at all. And so we were wondering, like, what is going on with this game? Is this
cowards? That's what it is.
Yeah, a bunch of cowards.
Or we're just terrible at it.
I do think you need to roll like a bunch of boosters early and then like a handful of 4s all at once. And like it's very doable in the base game, but not as likely without the exploration module.
Yeah.
I like the exploration module. I think one of the things holding it back when it comes to like usability is that people don't key in on what dice are. Like I find myself having to say, okay, 1s, 2s, or 3s. 1s, 2s, or 3s. And if I don't say that, people are like, they roll and then they look at the map. They're like, oh, wait, what were we looking at again? And I think that is something that makes it a little hard. If people like don't do that before they roll, it can slow it down a bit. It can make it a little bit more awkward. If you have a group that's like particularly not doing that, then you can have a not great time. I try to facilitate that in my plays as much as I can, so it isn't an issue. But like if this was like A++ in the BBG parlance, plus A tier, I'd be okay with it. But I just look at the little kitties, and they're not anthropomorphic because they still got kitty paws, So people can't complain.
My last note would be that I have a German copy of this game and much prefer the subtitle of Mlem Die Astrokatzen.
Die Astrokatzen.
Yeah, I can't argue with that.
That is beautiful.
That helps a lot.
Okay, well, I think 2 of us are leaning S tier. So
Scott just said
leaning...
A+.
Well, he said he'd be okay with A++. You're okay
that's
with
the bottom of S tier.
I'm okay with S++.
S minus.
Yeah.
This is some recency bias, folks.
Yeah, no.
You got to earn your stripes. We ranked 161 games. All right, we'll give you some more. I mean, hey, we did move like 4 out of the 6 underrated, overrated, right? We were pretty flexible there, I feel.
And that's all you're getting.
I'm saying
all you get.
Recency bias with Mlem itself. It's the new.
Recency.
Yeah,
it's been out for like
I've been playing.
year.
Yeah, I know most people. It came out this year, but I've been playing it for over a year at this point. So, like, I think November was when I started playing it, and it's still good. It still lands. So that's me. My Island. Have either of you guys finished the campaign of My Island? Because this is why I bring this up.
Yes.
I haven't even played My Island. So.
Okay. So how did you feel the last third went, Jared?
So I did not care for My Island, and it's a difficult situation because you can't separate it from My City, right? And on my final take was I respect it more than I enjoyed it, right? I feel like for Reiner, it would have been easier to just do my city, but more. But and so I respect that he took it in a completely different direction and made some dramatic changes and tried new things. I just wish they had worked for me. I thought it was dragged. We did finish the campaign, but my wife did it under duress. I had to cajole her to finish it versus my city where she was enthusiastically looking forward to playing it. So on the spouse side, it failed to pass that test.
Yeah, we're about 2/3 through the campaign, and we've enjoyed it up to this point, but we haven't felt the drive to finish it. Plus, I've heard from multiple review sources a similar experience of like they had to really force themselves to finish it, or even worse, like it just the quality drops off in the last few episodes for whatever reason. I don't know what comes out. Nobody wants to spoil it, but yeah, for those reasons, I figured, you know what? I think it's a solid, enjoyable legacy game, but fundamentally, to me, the putting out the polyomino shapes of my city is just more interesting than what my island had to offer. So I feel like it deserves to drop at least to down here. Maybe we'll put it right there. How do we feel about that?
It's a C tier for me.
It's a C. Okay. I'll let you have that. I won't argue. I've enjoyed it, but yeah, it's not one that we're dying to finish, so that's not helpful.
Yeah.
Maybe you just don't.
Yeah.
I mean, we got like 16. How many plays do I have? Like 16. So
it'd be tough. Like if I had never heard of my city, if I had only ever played my island, I might have feel about it differently. But knowing that there's such a better experience. Similar.
Speaking of knowing, wow, what a transition. What a transition. Speaking of knowing that there's a better experience, the more I play or, think about Nightmare Productions, the more I wish it was just silver screen, honestly. So this one, I feel like
beautiful thing.
It's just this silver screen being the card game version of Nightmare Productions that Scott and I both agree is just better. So I don't know. I don't remember where we put Nightmare Productions or no, that's because you had it as Hollywood Studios. That's right. The version that nobody can acquire. Yeah, this to me, like there's a much bigger gap here than what we had it ranked as. I would drop this to C tier, but I don't know have you played this, Jared? What are your feelings about this game?
Yes, I have the Hollywood Golden Age version, and I'm a big fan. I really like the closed economy. My edition, I think, is also beautiful, and so it helps a lot. And people like movies; they like the theme, and it's able to go through. I like the interjection of the commies. I actually printed out a version of Silver Screen, but I haven't had a chance to try it yet. So I'll reserve judgment on that. But I really like. It's A tier in my
Silver
opinion.
Screen, like it for me, it did everything that Hollywood Blockbuster, Nightmare Productions, Hollywood Golden Age. It did everything there while like adding in a few more considerations and just like making it just a bit more just like, ooh, okay,
it just sings.
This is fabulous.
I almost like part of me just wants to drop this out of protest that Silver Screen doesn't exist, but
I agree.
Yeah.
Solidarity.
So yeah, we are going to very mildly protest by keeping it in the B tier, but forcing it to drop to the bottom of the B tier.
And I'll work on getting Silver Screen to the table. It was my first major print and play, and so it's pretty janky. But we'll see if I can convince some friends.
Yeah, hopefully it's not too janky to still enjoy. We had a fun time playing that on TTS, huh, Scott?
Oh yeah.
We already covered No Mercy, raising that up, so we're good there. Penguin Party.
Penguin Party.
Oh, man.
Scott, I'll let you take the lead on this.
S-tier. Get that up there, baby. Well, this is the one that I needed to pull my mic away for. Penguin Party. Penguin Party. Yeah, S++. Penguin Party is absurdly simple, absurdly enjoyable. Honestly, I'd probably put it like A+ tier.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah.
S tier we'll get there. A little histrionic, but for me, it's just like it's just lovely. It's so easy. It's so easy, but it's got teeth. And then you can just play it. Like I took it to a rest home as part of a just a service activity, and we had people in like hospice and like long-term care playing Penguin Party and having a great time with it, and it's just oof, it's just beautiful. It's just fabulous.
It's just distilled pure Knizia card game goodness at its finest, right?
Yeah.
It's absurd what the man can do with nothing but colors. Like, stop! You're just flexing
Yeah.
at this point.
Where do you think it really belongs, Jared?
For me, it's upper B. I do think it's really good. I've played it with my kids. I've played it at work. It was actually requested. One of my coworkers brought it in as a lunch game recently, and yeah, I agree. I think it's the decisions where it makes you feel so devious when you look at your hand. You're like, I don't have any blue cards. It is now my mission to destroy blue, and then those temporary alliances as you can try and figure out what people are doing. So I do think it's an excellent little game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think we'll compromise and drop it in low 8s here. I think that's kind of where I'm at on it. And fortunately for folks who are interested, it's just now getting a brand new edition from 25th Century Games if you're in North America. There are lots of other versions that you saw from those photos that exist, so it should be, within the next couple months, relatively easy to pick up.
It's a really, really good Christmas gift game. Like, give it to kids, give it to adults. Like, it's a really good gift.
Yeah, you can play this with anybody. So good one. Okay,
I have the Japanese edition, and there's like a little spot the difference mini game in the colors that takes it even further.
Is it this version?
That's so cool.
No.
That's the Korean.
It's the one where
okay.
they all have different cocktails.
Oh.
Yeah, the one on the bottom,
That's
right.
Really cool.
Oh, yes. Okay. I do like the artwork for that one too.
Yeah.
That's very nice.
Cute.
Cool. Well,
Next,
Penguin Party.
please.
Heckmech Deluxe. Okay, this is another one where I feel like the more Knizia dice games I play, the less I appreciate Heckmech Deluxe. And partially because Reiner has iterated on this concept so many times, and I think he's done it better in a few other games at this point. So Heckmech Deluxe we had in B tier. I feel like it should be lower.
Yeah. I'm a Heckmech hater. I did not like it at all.
Wow. So Jared proposes we drop it from B tier to F tier. Oh, that's high score. Whoops. There we go. Heckmech Deluxe. I think it's slightly better than Into the Blue.
Oh,
Did we lose him?
that hurts me.
Scott, I think we lost you.
No, sorry. I just had my mic up like a silly little goose. Anyways, I said, here's a summary. Don't look, Robert. He's putting high score back. And then I think
I don't even know if it was there to begin with, but that feels pretty close.
Put Heckmech below Into the Blue to assuage Jared. We have to give him his little victory.
Yeah, we have to be nice.
Yeah, Heckmech, it just drags. And again, it's so hard to get away from comparisons, but I just spoiler for future things, but like play Cart Neck. don't play the dice version.
Well, yeah, that's totally different.
Yeah.
But, Cart Neck is easily the best version of Heckmech out there, and it's a shame that it doesn't have an English version, at least North American, directed version.
Yeah, but I would say so. We're all Americans on this call, but my understanding is that like Heckmech is huge in Europe. Like they sell it like at every grocery store, things like that. So I wonder, and yeah, it's a staple over there. And so I was excited to try it, and it just completely flopped.
Yeah, I think it's best at 3 players. If you play it with more, it definitely drags. If you play it with 2, I don't know, there's just not as much interaction going on. But yeah, I'd say I agree. I think its biggest problem is that it drags. So cool. Stevenson's Rockets. This is another one that has been more miss than hit with me lately with people I've shown it to, and that's why I'm saying we revisit it. I know, Scott, you haven't really had one that's a play of it that's took off, right?
It's a game that I think I will always respect more than personally enjoy. Like, it's a really sharp design, but it kind of just feels like a cactus. Like, it's just too prickly for my personal preference, and just some part of it, my brain is just like, I don't like it. I don't like Steven's rocket. It's not good. And I'm like, no, it's good. Like, what's wrong? I don't know. And it's just like, it mystifies me a little bit. Because there's a lot of things that I like about it. There's a lot of things that I like about it, but the overall game, it just doesn't gel with me.
You played this too, right, Jay?
I really like it. Yep. I put it personally at A tier, but that being said, like I've introduced to 3 different groups, and no one else has liked it as much as I have. So
yeah, that's the thing.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, this just doesn't take off for most people for whatever reason. And like it, if I have a group that is really into it, then it's a blast. It's almost like S tier quality game. But most of the time, it ends up being kind of like, well, maybe 1 or 2 people with me understand what's going on and really get into it and get competitive, and then like everyone else is just like, just way over their head. The weird stuff that happens with the mergers and all that. So
it is an obtuse game, and it on the heavier end of the spectrum, and and yet people who prefer cube rails or 18xx, they will also not get what they want out of the experience. So it's a tough needle to thread.
All right, Tajuto. Has everybody played Tajuto here?
That's one that I kind of wish that I had a copy of with still. I don't know. There's something about it that was just really enjoyable. But I think for me, like the action economy of Tajuto always just felt just that tiny bit too restrictive for what I was looking for. But I'm also like, my brain, it goes, I love combos. I love being able to do stuff. And I'm like, we're pulling things out of a bag. Isn't that enough for you? No, I don't know why. And so it's just another part of me where it's like, I respect the design. And I really enjoyed it, but it just didn't quite earn its keep for me.
That's interesting. I think this one has layers to it that I feel like most people don't uncover. Because you mentioned combos and stuff. Like in my, I don't know, 4th, 5th, 6th plays of this, I can't remember how high it's gone, but somewhere after 4, that's when I started doing all these crazy combos. Actually, it's where like I had a couple extra action tiles that I had bought, and normally you only have 3 action tiles, which get more expensive to use. But if you buy a couple more, then maybe you can do 5 or 6 actions in a turn, where your first action, you pull the perfect pagoda out of the bag and rack up all these points, and then you spend them right away to do another action. And so your resource guy, your commodity guy, is just flying up and down the track during one turn. I've executed some insane combos in this game, and then I've seen some really weird strategies that like your first few plays you don't even realize exist. So this one to me just gets better with more plays. That's why I feel like we need to raise it up a bit.
Yep. All right. Well, I get to be on the majority side because I'm with Nick. I think Tajuto is great. I think the fact that the bag building is a shared bag like immediately makes it so much better. Right? You're all competing for the same things. I think like placing your bets on pagodas that are going to be finished, which completely changes the narrative, as now people are incentivized to tank that one and not let it go. And like honestly, pushing your luck and going for it's like, all right, I'm gonna deliberately try and go for like this size up because I desperately want this blue piece, and then finding it is one of this like
it's so good,
highest of highs. Like when you pull that off, when you push your luck and land it, and it's attainable, right? It is something that you can do because there's only 8 different colors. It feels so good, and that's like Nick's saying that it is really tight. I definitely see Scott's point about it being restrictive. Like at the beginning, you feel like I can't do anything; it's so hard. But you can get a little engine going, and then it's combined with all these other aspects. So it's just there's so many. There's layers, like some type of building that gets layered and goes higher and higher. I can't think of a metaphor for this right now for some reason, but.
Gazebos.
Yeah, that's it.
Pagodas. No, I think more than any other Knizia game out there, this one, like, you need to think outside the box with your strategy and how you play, because I think intuitively people want to play the path of least resistance, and that's the least interesting way to play this game. But the way Reiner designed it, like, there's a lot of strategic flexibility here. So I don't
Yeah.
know. Are we leaning even higher? Are we feeling a little bit of that?
I'd be okay with it. It's something where I'm
Yeah.
like, well, I see where the potential is. I just haven't experienced it myself.
It's there. So I'd say if
Maybe
you're
if someone
interested
like,
in,
had Reiner pull out a copy of like Tajito from like his bag for me, like I don't know, maybe I'd give it another shot.
Yeah.
you
And
had your chance.
yeah, a lot of it's just novelty as well. Like there's nothing else like it. It's such a unique experience.
Awesome. Tajuto, sweet. That's been a real good grower for me. Finally, Treasures of Nokbe. This is another one where kind of like Llama Dice, I played it with way too many people. This one goes up to 7. Yeah, don't recommend that. um, but this is like Winter Circle, where instead of betting on your racers, you just are given 3 racers secretly that you're trying to cheer on to the finish line, and you manipulate as you go. I still think it's fun. It's a good family game. It's better with less people actually, because you have a little bit more control over what's going on. Otherwise, you're almost just a spectator, and you didn't bet on anything, so you're just a spectator. So I don't have either of you guys played this at this point?
I have not.
All right. Well, then I will just make the call and say that this is mid-C tier. Good family game, but not essential. Just play Winter Circle first. Okay. Well, that is. Oh no. Do you guys have any more? That's my proposed revisions. Do you guys have any more?
I'm satisfied.
Get Chin into A tier. Get Chin into A tier.
Oh,
Get that up there.
oh. This guy right here.
That guy right there. Get him into A tier.
Wow. Which pagoda's better?
Keep both pagodas.
Keep them as friends.
Get them in there. Yeah. I'm at peace. I'm at peace.
But what about the double color tile, Scott?
It's
But
It's fun.
But what about the double tile?
the game is fun. The game is fun. It's a fun game. My brain goes, ooh, I like playing the tiles. All right, that's the last of that bit. I can't promise, but I'll try.
Oh my gosh. Let's see if I can hide this.
All right, new stuff.
Okay. All right. Let's get to the new stuff here. Where are we at? Oh, it's over here. Okay. This is what we've all come for anyways, right? Archimedes.
Archimedes.
This is Jared. And I think this is one that only Jared has played. So, and
So make it quick.
yeah.
Crap or get off the pot.
All right, so we can bundle in Archimedes and Pythagoras, 2 card games from the same publisher. I believe they're Polish. They're both in the, shedding category. Think Uno, think Llama, and they are okay. Even on the negative side of okay, I can't remember the difference between them. I prefer Archimedes to Pythagoras, but they're both just fine. Like, go play Llama. I think they're secretly
tier.
educational games. I think their use case would be like playing with your kids and like secretly get them to practice their math.
Yeah.
Is what it's
Or
what it's about.
I could play with my girlfriend, who makes me do all the math of Lost Cities and help her with her mental math.
Yeah. So it's it's like playing cards, but then so kind of like Llama or whatever. We were trying to get rid of your cards in your hand, but then the added factor where you put in a plus or a minus,
Algebra,
and then you're trying to so you're trying to make equations in order to play it.
Yeah.
I'll say it does contain the little Easter egg, though, in that there is a promo card in Archimedes, which is the picture of Reiner Knizia
Yes.
that Nick then used to make his stuffy.
Yes.
So-
that was the inspiration for the Reiner Knizia plushie, which I should have
Yes.
with me, actually, instead of this piranha plant, which nobody knows about. Here, let me show you.
So, if nothing else, the legacy of Archimedes will live on in that, because I mean it's an adorable little picture that because the characters in it are prominent mathematicians, and so including Dr. Knizia, I did appreciate, even if the game itself didn't quite rise.
Cool. So we'll leave that at D tier. I will cover this next one, and Scott will follow after. Clash of the Gladiators. This is like Knizia does Ameritrash. Dice chucking. You assemble your little gladiator folk in their I don't know, in their little carts or whatever, and
Chariots.
in their chariots. Indeed, yes, they're very square chariots, and then you take turns just attacking each other and chucking dice. And I don't know, this one, like, it's amusing. It's mildly amusing. I'll give it that. But I feel like this is one that has not aged well. There are way better Ameritrash games today. For example, like if you want dice chucking chaos with exciting moments, play Thunder Road Vendetta or something like that. That to me is more modern, better version of anything that Clash of the Gladiators is doing. Has anyone else played this though?
I played it once, and I tried it with my son, and he was not in the mood, so it didn't go great. So I would like to try it again. I know Mark Bigney was a big proponent of this one, which is one of the reasons I sought it out. But yeah, it did not hit for me in first impression. So I would try it again, but I'll agree with Nick.
But there's a new version of this that Scott has acquired from the land of where's this from, Scott?
Hong Kong.
Hong Kong. Wow.
Hong Kong, direct. I think Battle Mechaverse, solid C.
Nice.
It's fun to build your great value Digimon. Give them like 4 rockets and just chuck dice at people, but then they have a big old shield, and it's just like, it's evocative, it's relatively quick, it's decent. It's just like, I think the added spatial element of moving one of your like members on the grid to then attack people in a line makes for like some interesting decisions about cover and like getting up on a mountain, or like I think it's interesting. I picked this up. I'm planning to give it to my nephew for Christmas like next year, and I think it will mold his personality in ways that only a game about throwing dice with mechs can do for 10-year-old boys.
Yeah, what's interesting, this was actually pitched to me a few years ago when we were hunting for, ironically, 2-player games, which it's not just a 2-player game. But obviously there's now terrain features, which Clash of the Gladiators just had adjacency and nothing else to it. And then there's like ranged weapons and close combat stuff, and there's a lot more going on in this version. So
it's really cool to build up your little monsters, your little mechs, and see how they play out. Although one of them inevitably just gets wrecked before you even have a chance to try it out.
Nice.
Yes, that's right. I uploaded these pictures.
The only pictures in existence. Cool. Beowulf the movie, the board game. Such a title. Wowza.
Yes.
And they're missing a colon. Oh, it's the movie board game, which makes a lot more sense.
That's correct.
Tell us, this is a new version of Kingdoms, or recently, Cosmo.
Yeah, 2007.
Which we did rank Kingdoms. The difference is there are 3 boards here that get gradually bigger and more spicy, I think, but Jared can tell us more.
There's different tiles, like there's a bunch of...
Yeah, so I had not played Kingdoms. I've only played Beowulf, and I did not know that the 3 boards was new to this edition, because I thought it was really interesting. Like it raised the stakes. Like there's slightly different shapes, and so you have to play it out in different ways. So I haven't played in a little while, but I really enjoyed it. I thought it was a solid B tier game where it's just the math, it's just the columns, but I think I played it.
Math.
Yep, played it.
Cruel math.
2 players, so
I think
yeah.
Is it? To me, it's like pretty much the same experience as Kingdoms. I don't know if they deserve to be like super far apart on the tier list, but I gotta find Kingdoms.
Where is Kingdoms?
Right there. Yeah. Huh?
Oh yeah. No, yeah, completely appropriate.
Yeah.
Oh, violence.
Yeah,
is happening on
they're
my bed.
mostly the same.
Oh, and it almost looks like an extension of him right there. That's perfect. Okay.
And they're eating the king.
Next
we have Buddy Hop. All right, we'll make it quick. If you have kids, it's actually, your kids will love this game if they're like 2 to 6 years old. You put out these big mats on the floor, and you're either racing to put all the matching cards on the matching animals, or you're playing a memory game where you just shuffle all the cards together and you flip one, and you keep flipping a longer line and you have to step on them in order. So like it doesn't light my world on fire, but like my girls love this game. So, and they're 3 and 5 right now. They've loved it for about a year or so. So for me,
Easiest S tier.
easily an S tier. No, I'd say like maybe it's a, I don't know, a C tier. No, a D tier. I mean, D tier. Like it's good if you have kids that age. Otherwise, don't worry about it. We'll put it next to this guy. They look like they belong together.
Yeah, some behind the scenes. I advocated for separating all of his children's game because it's like we're not the target audience, but yeah, he has a whole line of Simply Fun collaborations, and yeah, I haven't tried this one with my kids, but
there are a couple Simply Fun games that are actually like pretty good for adults. So it gets the line gets blurry at times.
Kids will play anything. Yeah. These are the things that you can play and you won't hate yourself with your kids.
Yeah.
Callisto.
Yeah, we'll get there. We'll get there. I just noticed I didn't have a tab for Axio Rota, which I have not played.
Axio Rota. Solid C tier.
Okay.
Just throw it in there. Let's get
another version. Wait, you haven't played this either, have you?
No, I have.
Oh, okay.
No, I gave it to my buddy Mike, and he likes it. And he's
it's not as good as
family.
Axio, right?
It's simple, it's approachable, but it doesn't really have like teeth. It's perfectly fine.
It's fine.
Perfectly
fine. All right,
fine.
we'll drop it.
I mean, like high D tier even, but I think it's still like quite
okay.
Solid.
But now we're on to the real star of the
show. Get that boy up to A tier, baby. It's so good with so few rules. Just immediately, like, what's going on with this game? See what happens in these pictures is you see people, oh, I'm the little red, I'm building in my little red part. I'm the little orange, I'm building my little orange part. No, like
should be more like this, right?
People who aren't.
Yeah, in people's faces.
No, it's just like so aggressive, so just like unnecessary. Like, stop blocking me. Like, no, I won't. Like, I mean, maybe I play with just like the right people for it. But like I busted this out, and it was just like from the word go, just like get out of my yard. Like that's I think if this game had a tagline, it would be "Get out of my yard." I wish I had a shotgun.
Yeah, and so for people who are wondering, this is essentially, in my opinion, and I assume in Scott's opinion too, a better blockus. Yeah, where you don't your pieces have to touch orthogonally; they don't do the corner touching like blockus. But you also have these pawn things that you seed 2 of them out initially, and that's where you can spread out from. But then you have a third one in store that when you really need that back door to sneak into a blocked off section, you can whip that baby out. And you're just trying to get rid of all your pieces. I've only played this one time, but I thought it was really solid. So A tier, like I'm not really batting an eye if we're going A tier.
I've played this one as well, and fairly recently. And in anticipation of this recording, I dug through my unplayed catalog, and yeah, we played it over lunch one time, and it went really well. Yeah, like what Nick was saying, that the timing of when to use that third column, because it's not scoring you points, but sometimes you just need that pressure valve release. And for us, we played. I think that the game recommends you play three in a row and kind of do the scoring that way. And so watching our meta evolve over those 3 games was really interesting. Because at first, yeah, like Scott was saying, we're just kind of like, okay, do this. But then one of us clocked that like, oh, if I can cut off this corner and leave a little piece just for myself and not big enough, so it's not worth them putting their pillar in there, but just big enough for me to have this little area to myself. I don't think it was A tier, but I would... Upper B would be my first impressions.
It's A tier. It's A tier.
Yeah.
It's one of those games that's just like, how has this not existed for 1,000 years?
Yeah, I don't know if this will change anyone's mind. If you're not into like this abstract blocking spatial puzzle type of game, I don't think it'll change anyone's mind. But I do think this is probably one of the best, versions of it out there. And so, yeah, it deserves. It's a hidden gem that deserves some praise. So I think, yeah, I'll go with Scott on this one. Low A tier. It's good. It's really good. So, okay, next one. Ooh, Capybara Cookie Club. Here we go.
I'll be back.
I had the pleasure of playing this with Mike Delisio and Chris Yee at Dice Tower headquarters. This is the first game we played after our live playthrough of Silos, Ego, and Orbit. And it's all because I was going
Palette cleanser.
Yeah, palette cleanser, exactly. I was going through their whole like stacks of new games that they got from Gen Con and stuff. And of course, my eyes just zeroed in on the Knizia game that is like really hard to acquire in the US, right? And there's not an English version of this that exists. It is in some ways a new take on Llama, but it's a more gamery take where essentially you can play a card onto either discard pile, and the card has to be, I don't think it can be the same number. I think it has to be one higher. So it's a little more restrictive in that sense, but then you have two options to play to. But if it's the same card on both discard piles, then you can play whatever the heck you want on either discard pile. The weird thing is, when you play a card, it triggers an ability. So all of these cards have their own ability. And weird stuff like this teapot, which protects you from taking hits or losing your cookies, which are points, or not that kind of lose your cookies. And then one that moves the capybara around and then triggers the animal's ability again, and like one where you can pass your card to another player, and you're basically trying to get rid of your cards because, kind of like llama scoring, whatever you have in your hand when the round ends, you're going to remove that many cookie point tokens from your supply. So I don't know. We played it and it was like, this is kind of interesting, but also at the same time, like, it's whatever. Like, it felt very random and lucky when everything was said and done. I don't know if I felt like I made a clever play at any point during the game. And we played multiple rounds, and I think Mike just trounced us. Like, I had you play until somebody runs out of cookies, and then whoever has the most cookies wins. And it was either Chris and maybe it was Chris just lost all of his cookies, and I wasn't far behind him. And Mike still had like 20 something. Yeah, it was pretty gross.
Incredible.
So Capybara Cookie Club, I'd say high D tier. Like, it's interesting, amusing, but really not worth seeking out. So there you go. Next,
Cat Blues, the big game.
I've been talking a lot from Capybaras, but Scott, you've played this. Why don't you take this one away?
Oh yeah, let me talk about Cat Blues. It's Cat Blues, but just better. It's Cat Blues, but just better. It's just such a slick card game. You're spending cards to get cards to get points, but like just the hand management of like using the cards you could score points with to buy cards that you could score points with. It's just always agonizing, always delightful. And look at this bloody art, man. The kitties. Look at the kitties. They're so cute and so unique and just like, oh, I love them so dearly. I'm so looking forward to getting a copy of this because it'll just always be there.
Yeah,
I'll always have Cat Blues.
Full disclosure, Bitewing Games, I am the publisher of this. Scott, you helped edit the rulebook, huh? But this is a game that existed as Cat Blues when it was originally published in the 90s and has had some new reprints since then. But it's another one of our crown jewel games where we went to Reiner and said, hey, we really love this card game already. Let's make it a little bit better because we see a few flaws with it. So we made it more forgiving to people who make really bad mistakes. And we also made it a little more spicy with you play 3 games and you're competing for things over the course of 3 games. And in my opinion, like, it's fun to play this game and knock it out in like 10 minutes. The original version, just the one session version, that's like a really satisfying filler in and of itself. But I think it really shines when you play it multiple times in one sitting, and that's part of the reason that it also has multiple games. So, Scott, where do you think this should go? We had, for context, we had Cat Blues here. I remember you saying it's hard to acquire, which is why it shouldn't be higher. But this is...
Oh, it's A tier.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite Knizia card games. That's why we wanted to reprint it. One of those hidden gems.
I think you could make a case for it being S tier, but I think we need to check our bias at the door.
Yeah.
Just a little tiny little baby bag.
Yeah.
It belongs in the S tier, but like this is for the people who like, I don't know. I'll be a Bitewing shill till the day I die as long as you guys keep doing it. It's like...
Yeah, this is, I agree. I think A tier is a good place for it. And like, it is one of my favorite Knizia card games, but yeah, we'll try to avoid being too biased, but it's obviously a step up with the rules from this guy.
Yeah.
So.
We'll save our bias for later.
Yeah. Brace yourselves.
I played the original and fell prey to those mistakes that were alluded to, and so it has not quite hit for us yet. So I'm really looking forward to trying the next iteration.
Yeah, this releases, by the way, December of this year. So like in a few weeks, it's going to be available. So it's coming out real fast, real soon. I'm excited.
Oh my goodness.
All right. Oh, whoa, that is not. Oh, that's the wrong Caesar.
That's not the Caesar. That's not the. Well, I'll start talking about it anyway.
All right, see if I can make this
Because
work.
have you played this, Jared?
I have.
Okay. All right. So Caesar is. Well, I mean, if you want to go ahead, I did. Like,
We're trying.
I don't remember. It was fine. I don't remember enough to talk about
it's
it.
Fine. It's like really solid D tier. That made me question whether or not it was like way better than it was, but I think it's perfectly fine. It's enjoyable. You can play it with your aunt as long as like you stay on top of scoring for them. My parents picked it up and I had a fun time with that. But it was just something that like really cute box, really cool production.
Except they use mushroom clouds for the bombs for some
Mushroom
reason.
clouds. It's just
that was a choice.
like you could have like I mean it's just thinking about it as like anthropomorphic animals after like a nuclear apocalypse.
You guys didn't play the cool version of this with the Unidice,
with the Unidice
which never
that,
came
like,
out.
Will it ever come out?
Probably not.
Anyways, go to that second to last picture that I took.
Ooh.
The inside of the box.
Oh, nice.
It's really cute. It's really, really cute.
Yeah.
And that's the reason that I held on to it for so long, I think. It's a fine dice game. D tier. D for
Yeah,
dice.
you sent me your copy. I still haven't had the chance to play it, but you're not motivating me to get to the table soon.
Yeah.
It's enjoyable.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine.
We'll put it right there.
Yeah, like I said, but even it's so crazy though because it just explains the folly of our endeavor. Just comparing it to other Knizia push your luck dice games, like not even all the dice games ever, but just his, and yeah, it pales in comparison.
Yeah. Okay. City of the Living, which this is another one that I actually wanted to re-rank because, like, Scott, what the heck is this doing up here?
Because Prosperity is a significantly
No,
better
it's
package.
the same
Like,
game.
City of the Living, it's the same game, but like the usability and like the decisions that they made, like really hurt it in a lot of ways. If you take Prosperity down to C tier, fine. I won't die on that hill, but put City of the Living in F. It pisses me off.
Wow.
Making games is really difficult, and there's a lot of axes for enjoyment and like critical enjoyment and stuff. But kind of everything that City of the Living changed without changing the game at all made the game worse. Made me so mad. Because I was just desperately hoping, and then I got so disappointed. So
Can you be more
partially me
specific? Like, do you remember?
Well, look at that. It's so drab. It did nothing to make the game more appealing. It was a side grade at best. The theme is, at this point, super done and overdone. There are multiple graphical issues that didn't make it through QA, which it happens. It really does. But there's enough that kind of impacts the gameplay of it. All of it is just less appealing overall, and it makes me really disappointed to be this big of a proponent of Prosperity as an actually really interesting design that people don't. It's fine if it's C tier.
Yeah, we played this together, and I don't know if it's F, maybe low D tier. It's playable. There are graphical issues with City of the Living. There are graphical issues that you have to figure out that are wrong to the game, in the setup and a couple tokens and things like that are weird. And the theme generally makes sense. Oh yeah, you're trying to keep the zombies out of your little town that you're trying to protect. But when you look at the tiles more closely, it's wait, why is this? It just it kind of falls apart in some ways. The theme.
The theme of Prosperity was so unique and optimistic. I think it's great.
Have you played either of these games, Jared?
Yes, I played Prosperity, and I thought it was okay.
Yeah.
B is generous.
Yeah.
But I can see.
I know.
Yeah. So, but yeah, based on everything I heard, I did not seek out City of the Living.
Yeah, my biggest issue with the game is like it's just not very interactive. It's very much like heads down. You know, you're kind of just managing these tracks and managing your little community, and maybe you take things from each other occasionally, but it just didn't feel very engaging with the other players at all.
Agreed.
All right, get this out of here. Next, please.
We did that one. So we are on to
Conic.
Jared, have you played this?
Get that up there.
Yes.
All right, you take it away.
Conic is absurdly good, man.
So good.
Yeah. Koenig works both as a game and also an object of art. It's a really fascinating package where it's wonderful. So it's a blind bid to weird area control scoring where everyone has the same number of discs and you have all of them available to you, and it's when you are going to play them at what time. So he's used this mechanism in some other cases, and so it has that thing where you can use the 0 over and over again, but whoever wins the bid also gets to decide where the next bid goes. And so you're trying to score the columns, but then also trying to make large groups. So I've only played this 2-player so far, and even enjoyed it at that level. And so I'm really looking forward to trying it with more.
It is so sharp and mean and fast and gorgeous, and it's just like I people are like, is it worth $50 to import this? I'm like, I don't think I can say yes, but like I really want to. Like it's at least A tier for me, but like I think the production kind of puts it over for me, like into S. Like
it's really
like as a package, it's gorgeous.
It's crazy.
It's just so enjoyable.
And so it sounds like you guys have both played this at 2 players. I've only played it at 3 players, and I thought it was also excellent. Like
I've done 2 and 3, and like the dynamics between the two are really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Like it scales really interesting. And just beautiful.
What's weird is like this game existed forever ago as Katina. So let's look at that for just a second. It was almost. Oh yeah, yikes! It was all. Here we go.
There was one rule edition.
What a glow up
avenue of scoring. That is the only rule difference.
Yeah, but I think it's actually a pretty important rule difference. Like in the original game.
Oh yeah, no, it makes a huge.
You're
difference.
bidding for area majority in these columns, and whoever has the most tokens wins it, or the highest sum if there's a tie, right? But in Conic, Reiner changed one rule where now your biggest connected group will also score points, and like suddenly, you know, spaces that you didn't care about in Katina, whatever, matter in Conic. And so then you're second guessing, like, oh, are they going to bid high for this? Like it's part of their cluster if they get it. So this is, in my opinion, like one of the best simultaneous bidding games that's ever been crafted. It's just so pure and spicy and quick and distilled. Ooh.
I'm sorry, everyone. I really am. It's so good though.
Yeah, you know, I don't know if this is one that Bitewing could pick up. Maybe someday. Never say never. But like, how do I one up this production, right? From a publisher standpoint, like I don't want to.
You just import it and like slap the Bitewing logo like on the back of the box and
just the rule. Yeah, just the rules transition, and then that's it.
We've never done that, but maybe we got to call up 25th Century because they've done that with a few, you know, Knizia imports, and like this one, this deserves to be far and wide across the land.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, Scott, you just recently pointed out how each side of the box is one of the different player colors. Like that's. It's luxurious.
It is such a labor of love. Like it's so ridiculous how much love has gone into this box. Like I want this podcast to end eventually, but I also don't want to stop talking about Conic. You have to move on. We have to go.
All right,
keep going.
A bit of whiplash here. Cthulhu. Who's played this? I haven't.
I haven't.
Cthulhu Rising is not good. It is
F tier. Let's move on.
It's a D tier game.
Oh, this is the one that's kind of sort of like Iliad, right? That's why I'm somewhat familiar with it.
Yeah, maybe.
It's got like rows and columns you're competing in, right?
Yeah. So like, there's some of that Kingdoms DNA. Mm-hmm. It was 2-player only. I tried it with a friend, and both of us disliked it, and then I put it away.
All right, F tier. There it goes. So long.
See, we're not biased. We
There's an F tier, guys.
Yeah, we got a couple of those. All right, this is
Fruit Spy.
Fruit Spy, also known as Dead Man's Treasure. I have not played this.
So are we going to do D tier for Dead Man's or F tier for Fruit Spy?
no.
Because it's not good.
Oh no!
Ouch. Ouch.
Yeah.
Give us the elevator pitch.
I can't defend it, so just like
So it's another blind bit where you're playing your cards face down on these islands, and then if you play another card, it reveals the previous one while yours goes face down.
Okay.
And it's just strengths of pirates only. You have one cannon card, and if someone reveals it, it blows up both of it. And then there's this weird thing where these two standees are moving around in the circle, and then the treasure will score at the end. So it's just
bad,
not a lot of
huh?
decisions. Yeah, pretty random. It was not satisfying. I did not like it.
Oh,
D for Dead Man's
Dead
Treasure.
Man's Treasure. Where is it? Is it not on here?
It's probably under Fruit Spy. I don't know. Maybe it's just not
Dead
on
Man's
here.
Treasure.
I try my best,
Undeserving.
but I'm not perfect.
Undeserving game. Well, if we see it later, we'll throw it on there. So,
Okay.
um,
I might have gotten lost.
maybe
Next, please.
the souvenirs plane. I don't know how to say this.
I want to talk
Okay.
about games again.
We're getting in the weeds with Jared. That's where we're at right now.
Yeah. All right. This is a French-only children's game, and it is really interesting because all these tiles are magnetic, and so all it is you move your player pawn, and you can move it as far as you want until you hit one of the clouds that has a magnet, and so you're just trying to ping pong, zigzag through these to reach all these depots to collect your memories, and you're trying to remember. It's like, okay, which one was the danger route, which is the safe route, and watching it. So it is a children's game. It's really light. It's not worth importing it from France unless you're. But if you do have the opportunity to try it, it's with your kids. It's worth trying. So I'd say,
the magnet thing. I do like the sound of that. That's pretty cool.
yeah, low C tier.
Ooh, C tier.
I'll lend it to you.
That's right. Oh, it's way down yonder. Okay, here we go. Low
Next,
D tier.
please.
All right, let's see if we're on to something Scott and I have played. Nope.
Nope.
Desperados. Oh, look. Okay, this is interesting. Before we get into this, look
Yeah.
at this.
So
1980.
we
44
might need
years
to fact
ago.
check on that because the copyright in the rulebook says 1990.
Oh.
So I don't know.
I'm guessing
I-
that this was like one of the
magazine game?
games,
yeah.
and then like he got a copyright on it later.
Okay. So I just played this on Thursday, and it's interesting. I shared my comments on the Discord, and it's very clearly a journeyman work, right?
D
Where
for Desperado?
yeah, another alliteration.
He was learning. He
It-
was learning the ins
Yep.
and out of game design.
But so it's not great, but you can see his skill and what's to come because the timing. So it's a team game where you cannot communicate, and you can either draw a card, play a card, or pass a card, and that's it. And so you are trying to open these mines and then fill the mines with the coins that are worth points, but they only score if you then close the mine. And then you can use the Desperado cards to steal the other player's team unless they can defend it. And it was interesting because there was some timing. We had some things where like they opened up a gold mine and then we just closed it right away so they couldn't play any of their gold cards. And then stuff. So it was interesting, and yeah, as a historical curio, it was cool. But yeah,
Nice.
but he got better.
I like
Yeah,
that.
I prefer this version.
Josh Hutcherson got his start. Easy come, easy
go.
go. I haven't played this one.
Yeah, I haven't played this either. It's back to you, Jared.
Oh yeah, bad.
Back.
Another put your luck dice game.
Bad.
Complete flop.
Oh no.
It was. It seems like Nick and I disagree a little bit on like the relative ranking of some of these, but I don't think you would like this one either. It's just so the theme comes from like you're like in Gang of Dice, like in High Score, like in any of those, you're like trying to meet the certain conditions, but then it goes to where if someone else meets it, they take it from you, and so it's tedious, it's pointless, and then you have no control. And it's like, okay, well, yeah. Pass.
Sad. Yeah, and it just got a 2021 version from Playtee, which I like the art style.
It looks
really
great.
beautiful.
Yeah, it looked nice. I thought ship in the bottle, it was a good quality production. I wish it was a better game.
So are these
F tier.
Okay, F tier. Okay, I don't know if Desperados are. I mean, this one sounds like it's definitely at least D tier.
Oh, yeah.
But I don't know. If
I
this
would
is
say
D tier too.
that was C tier. Lower Charlie.
Oh, okay. This one. All right.
No.
Oh.
D for Desperado.
Oh.
The French one was C tier.
Very nice. Okay. Next, we. Oh.
This is why I'm a Bite Wing show, because I freaking love this game.
Take it away, Scott. You've been waiting.
I'm gonna take the flipping reins, man. Seeing this like be developed and come to fruition has been just one of the most delightful board game joys of my life. I don't know, man. It's just like, I think the game is like, it's snappy, it's sharp, it's so bloody stinking good. Even like if you end the game with literally 2 points, which I did in that game that was just pictured.
Brutal.
It's just like the ways that this game like evolves as you go along is like, it's crazy. It's crazy. Like I had this game where I scored 2 points, and the next game I played with 5 players, I scored 99 somehow. Like it was just like crazy what can happen, and beautiful. And it's just like, it takes everything that I like of Beowulf, it compresses it, it recontextualizes a lot of it, it tweaks some of it in really significant ways, and I just
Yeah.
I love it.
Another disclosure: I'm the publisher of this, and it's currently on Kickstarter. So, very, very biased. But
Shill.
Yeah. We have taken like dozens upon dozens of pitches from Knizia, and I've turned down many of those games, and not all of the ones that we published are like among my favorite Knizias. Obviously, if you look at our tier list, even from last year. But this to me is one of the most fun experiences I've had with any Knizia game ever. This is honestly a gold tier game for me. Like, this is how much I love the experience of bidding against each other and having those game of chicken auctions where it's like, you back out, no, you back out, and then doing the risk of whipping out cards and then maybe having it just blow up in your face, or just having a miracle reveal of the perfect cards that you need, and that scares everybody off from the auction. Or I don't know, there's just such highs and lows in this game, and after playing it so many times and with so many different setups and different sizes of groups, like, yeah, this is for me a gold tier Knizia game, but I'm also the publisher, so that's ego. I know this is one that you've played, Jared, of the 3 in the trilogy.
I know. So yeah, shout out to my good friends at the Decision Space podcast. So I got to join them to play one of the advanced copies, and yeah, so I have played Beowulf, and I was familiar with that, and it did not go over well when I taught it to Jake, and so we had a good laugh when he found out that Nick was sending him the new version of that.
Yes.
And it completely won him over. Like, so for me, it took something good and made it great. So it was first impressions. I'm really looking forward to playing this some more and trying the different combinations. And so I was very impressed. And yeah, so I'm not biased at all. and yes.
Well, Scott, you've heard my take, but I know you've played this multiple times. Where do you feel ego belongs? Did you mute yourself again, Scott?
Bloody heck. Get that up there. Get gold tier. No, I agree 100%. Again, biased 100%. But it's also like, we wouldn't be putting so much work into, like, you wouldn't be putting so much work into publishing it. And I've helped out with, like, you know, like some development and like the rulebook editing. We wouldn't be as enthusiastic about this as a product if we weren't as enthusiastic about it as a design. And I think it's just so fabulous when you got like the extension boards and like the ship modules and just like everything. It's just like, oh god, it's so friggin' good.
Yeah, I don't know if people realize, but like, this isn't just a reskin of Beowulf. Like, this is the most Reiner has redeveloped any game of his that I've ever seen, ever. And that's just not from us.
Yeah.
Like, he went back to like the bare minimum. Like, what is this game about? It's about game of chicken, auctions, and taking risks. And then progressing through events together, right? And then he just rebuilt the whole game from that concept based on like our feedback of like, okay, most people don't like this about Beowulf. This is our favorite parts of Beowulf. Let's rework this. And like, it's crazy how much he changed about this game.
Ah, it's so good.
And since the board is modular, you can still arrange it in an L shape.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Take that.
Well, that's
right.
good. That's good enough for ego. Woo. Okay, am I the only one that's played this, or have you guys?
Yeah.
Make it snappy. Make it snappy.
Have you?
Yeah.
Oh, it's just me. Okay.
Yep.
Holy smokes. Okay, this man. So we played this one time and I was like, I don't know. Basically it's ingenious, but you can stack tiles on top of each other. And my first play of it, my thought was like, well, that just means you can't block people. That's lame. But what you don't realize is that like you can block people in the third dimension, okay?
Yeah.
It's third dimension blocking where you
The Z-axis.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Incredible.
It's really just like that's really the only rules change, but it takes ingenious from like a family weights, fun little bitey tactical game to like a meaty, delicious, incredible experience. This I think is one of the best abstract games ever created. Like I'm going to throw the gauntlet down and say like
Wow.
there are very few abstract games as good as this one. It's like ingenious perfected in my opinion, because it raises the skill ceiling and opens up all these exciting new possibilities that you don't realize after in only one play. So
Hold on, I have to go to Amazon DE real quick.
that's where you have to get it, unfortunately.
Just grab two.
So,
Yeah.
yeah, this one is at least A tier. But what's funny is like I played it with my wife. We played it multiple times in the same week, which we rarely do with any game. And like randomly in game 3 or something, she's like, "This might be my favorite new game." And I'm like, you know what? I can't even argue with that. Like it's really that good. I think it's almost conic levels of good. So I'm going to risk.
Executive decision.
I'm going to risk it all. I'm putting in all the chips. I'm saying this is at least S tier. So
do you want me to grab the ego deck? Like, because it definitely sounds like you're looking for persuasion.
that's right.
Or the mouth sparkles. Like,
So
Do you think we'll ever get an Axio 3D?
that would be crazy. I would like to see it. And then we get big pyramids. What about pyramids that can stack upon pyramids? Oh man. Imagine the possibilities. But this is, Axio was my favorite version of that game up until Ingenious 3D, and now this is like head and shoulders above anything else in that line. So, all right, escalation.
is this me?
It's not me.
I think that if you're looking for the sort of card game you can play with literally anyone in your extended family and no one will ever complain about it, this is the absolute perfect game for you.
Yeah. Just play it with grandma.
Conservative family.
Hey, grandma, you want to play a game?
It did not light my world on fire. Yeah. I thought even like the Japanese production is gorgeous. That's in the picture right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This
but Japanese
still,
production,
like it was D tier for me. That's
really.
I think that's
so
the Chinese.
Sushi?
Yeah, the new Chinese.
Oh, cool.
I've played this one as well, and I rate it higher than Scott. I'd say I'd put it at low B personally.
Whoa.
I think
Low B.
so. It's firmly in the silly card game category, but I think it's an excellent example of that. So the game is called Escalation because you're
Just
building
play
and building and building
Just play llama.
until someone someone flops and has to take the whole stack, and it's really fun.
Nice. So it sounds like the happy medium is C tier, right? Is that where we're at?
No. Yeah. Okay.
We'll put it right. I don't know. Is it better than Money and Poison though? Like these are all.
No.
I don't think so.
Put it at the bottom of C tier. Like.
Okay.
Axio Rhoda's better than that. Put Axio Rhoda like right above it. Like.
Is it better than Capybara Cookie Club? That is the ultimate question.
If escalation's in C tier, then put Axio Rhoda in C tier right above it. Like, I will not stand for that.
I feel like we need to flesh out D tier a little bit more, but I don't know. That's Scott.
Take that, Jared.
D for escalation.
There was no E, so we had to round up. Okay. Ooh. Am I the only one that's played this?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, you guys. So this is one I brought back from CMON Expo just barely. So I only had the chance to play it once at 4 players. I really wish I could play this a couple more times to give you a more balanced take. But I'm pretty high on Fantastics, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm seeing 8 stars.
8 stars, baby. So here's the thing. What if everybody was playing bingo and the first person to win bingo wins? But the way that you cover your bingo card is you proceed through a series of challenges. We're talking trivia challenges. We're talking dexterity challenges. We're talking bluffing challenges. We're talking almost semi-cooperative cooperative challenges. Like this game, I don't know. It's such a smart party game. Everybody gets 12 sticks, okay, 2 of each color, and then there's an extra supply out there too. So then you might pull up the least interesting one I'll give you is the trivia. It's like a number challenge. So it's like, okay, how many, I don't know, how many moons does Jupiter have? And the answers show like 1, 2, 3, and you hold that many sticks in your hand, and then you all reveal and see who was right. Like those are fine. They're very quick. They mix up the game. That I'm not crazy about them. But then there's all these other things you do with sticks. Like, okay, we're gonna race to build this thing. First person to do it wins without toppling it over, right? Or you're gonna look at this structure for like this one. You're gonna look at this card for like 3 seconds and then flip it face down, and then everybody's secretly going to recreate that exact structure with those colors behind their screen and then reveal. This one is one of the funniest to me because every time we did this, everybody got it wrong, and it was like very simple structures, but we were having a hoot with this. All of us enjoyed it. This, I think, and it's a party game that lasts like 20 minutes, and it has a huge deck of card variety going on. So to me, this is B tier Knizia at its finest, and honestly, it could go up with more plays. So I do recommend if you come across it if you happen to be wandering the streets of Bangkok and you come across a Korean publisher called Mandu Games who just put out Fantastics, you should pick it up. I don't know if it's worth seeking out and like importing unless you're kind of bulk ordering, but I'm going to put it right there between Poo Mafiosi and Soda Smugglers. It's good. Fantastics, even.
Next, please.
Ooh. All right, we'll make this quick.
Okay.
This is a kid's game. It's a dexterity stacking game where you're stacking cheese and mice. Not mice. Cheese and on discs. I guess you do stack the mice too. It's not great. It's very one-dimensional, despite being a 3-dimensional game.
Actually, it's okay. All right. You were there. You were getting there.
So I'd say you can do better with games like Junk Art and the like. So moving on. Genio Special. Scott, you want to cover this?
This one's really solid. It takes the scoring of Ingenious and it ties it with kind of the city scoring of Cascadero. I believe that this was one of the main inspirations for how city scoring works in Cascadero because it's an older design. But you're just putting out like double hex pieces, like that's it. Trying to connect towers, trying to place on certain tiles or certain spaces on the board for points, and then just your lowest color at the end is your score. It's quick, it's slick, that's the very patriotic game that we played at Dice Tower
That might
West
even be my
earlier
elbow,
this year.
Actually. Look at that beauty.
That is,
wow.
That's Robert's elbow.
Oh, no.
You were sitting to my right.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry about that. But it's a really cool game that No, yeah, it's a really cool game and well worth finding out. Robert does not like abstracts, but he really likes that game.
It's cool. Yeah, I agree.
I like abstracts, and I really like that game. Like it's a really solid like B tier, like hidden gem. Honestly,
Yeah, I got to scroll up to get there.
I would love this to be like more available, but I don't know the last time that it was printed.
Yeah, I doubt it's going to be reprinted too. So
Oh,
it's just like so deep in the ingenious line and hidden and tucked away. But yeah, I agree. I think it's really solid. It's unique. It's interesting. I mean, Cascadero does kind of scratch a similar itch in some ways, but it's more combo-tastic, whereas this one's more like blocking strategy, abstract.
yeah, it's just about the connections.
So I thought it was good too. Yeah, Genio Special. This you haven't played this, right, Jared?
Negative.
But you have played Gold.
Spoiler, this is not going in gold tier.
Rip. Boo! Boo!
Yeah.
Do it for the bit.
No, this is... Alright, so you know the children's game Memory? Where you're trying to flip things over and find pairs?
Better memory?
Better by one notch. So it's...
This is
It's
Knizia
fine,
memory, baby.
Yeah, so... Ironically, I don't even remember how much I did like it because, like, I tried it because, like, it's this big. It's a little tin. There's something with dynamite and mines, and it wasn't good. I didn't like it. D tier.
D tier. Well, it's definitely not better than SWAT, which is just criminally low.
Oh!
Yeah.
No, I needed to... That's the other one that I needed to say.
Yeah.
It's Mine and SWAT is like at least B tier. It's really enjoyable.
Yeah.
No, that game's like really solid. Get out of here,
Disagree.
Jared. Get out
All
of
right.
here.
Well,
It's no.
we're gonna promote it to high-ish C tier. I enjoyed
High-ish
it too.
C-tier.
I played it. I've only played it once, but it's like raw.
This is under protest.
Oh, come on. It's raw scoring combined with like managing your patience, I guess. Where somebody is gonna slap when they just get too impatient.
I hate
Jared's
it. It's mine.
indignation killed you. No, I think this game is great and funny and quick and dumb and wonderful.
Yeah, the game was, and then you have to it screeches to a halt as you have to try and score everything, and it was awful.
It's just simple addition. It's just like here's a -2, here's a +2. You throw those away. Here's a -5 and a +5. You throw those away. You don't even have to add those up. You just make the pairs, and then they're gone, and then you add the other things, and that's not that much. You're crazy.
I think it's going to be hit or miss. Obviously, the people I played it with, like, I got a kick out of it. And I think one other person got a kick out of it. We were all Knizia files, by the way. And then one other person's like, I think the person who owns it, they're like, well, that's a game. So, yeah, because it's like you're patiently waiting to slap a bunch of cards that are being revealed, and you only get to do that 3 times. And maybe you slapped too soon, and you got worse stuff than other people. It's kind of just push your luck, basically.
And then one guy gets to just run out the rest of the deck, and you're like, I was an idiot. I was a fool.
So if you want raw, but I don't know, less auctions, then
Speed raw.
They should not even be in the same conversation.
Oh my goodness. Get it in C tier. I'll be happy because it's out of D, and Jared will be upset because it's good.
Wait, did we decide where golds? Did we decide on, was that D tier or we got distracted? Oh, F tier. Okay. See ya.
It's bad.
All right. So next one is Hong Kong. This is another game that was pitched to me at one point. One of the many dozens and dozens of games I've tried from Knizia Games. And this might be the worst game that's ever been pitched to me. Wow. It's like, it looks interesting. The verticality, it's like, that's why I wanted to try it. We went as far as like, I got these.
Are those Velcro dots?
No, I think they're screen printed, but that would be cool.
I mean,
we made
this is from like 2000. I think those are Velcro dots.
There were multiple games kind of like this with blocks that we went to Home Depot and we like painted them and we made these prototypes and we played this one and it was like there wasn't a single interesting decision that I made the whole game. You're just trying to like build taller towers than each other, and I have no idea why this is considered a game. So it's F tier for me.
Get wrecked. It looks a little fuzzier on my end, so I think that's why I thought they were Velcro.
Oh,
that'd be cute. Like,
yeah.
Apologies to the people of Hong Kong.
Oh yeah, no,
Wrong.
I'm sure Hong Kong is a fantastic city. The game
I
that
mean,
Reiner made
You
for
deserve
all
better.
you deserve better.
They
Let's
made
leave
us
it at
Battle
that.
of Mechaverse, and that at least gets some goodwill. You know?